terabytes. Ooh, I felt that one. I'm Tara with Tara Simon Studios, and today, for the first time, I can't even believe it. Why has it taken me so long? I'm going to be reacting to Celine Dion, and this is the best. She made her higher notes bigger and better than the original. Yes, I love that. That's always the mark of a true great performing artist, is when you can make it better live than you did in the recording. So yes to all that. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, click that notifications button, and if you are a singer and you're on a vocal journey, you're gonna want to check out the description box below. I've got an amazing 8-week Sing Smarter Not Harder course, a 4-week Riffs and Runs course if you want to sound a little bit more like Celine that we're about to hear, private lessons, instant reactions, you name it, we've got it at the studio, and we are here to help support you on your vocal journey. Without further ado though, let's get some Celine in our lives. Woo! Right out the gate, ripping it. Woo. 5, nice. Woo! Yes, G. E flat.
If we got love and it's strong enough, you gotta feel it here, right there. You gotta feel it everywhere.
Okay, so that one is a different placement. Yes, she did go higher, but the first one was in total chest voice, and the second one was more of like a, which is more mixed chest or pure mix, depending on the singer and their vocal timbre. Hers was a little bit more like live performance, gritty, mixed chesty, rather than what I demonstrated, which is more like I'm sitting and I'm reacting, so it's like a mix. But it was not the same register as the first. And why don't we go back and listen to that so you guys can really hear the difference. That was total chest, wide open. This one, you're gonna hear the grit gone away. It was more in the nose, which is great, but different placement. Good switch from chest to head there. Nice. So yes, that was a higher note, but she did a different run. So instead of finishing the run where it was in the previous recording, she actually added a flourish onto it and went up, which is indicative of flourishes. I mean, you can't stay in the same spot, otherwise what's the point of continuing, right? You have to add to it. So that made perfect musical sense for her to go up. And I will say this, guys, when you're kind of improvising on stage, make sure that you have a good sense of the chord progression, that you know enough about music to kind of anticipate where the chord is going so that your voice can match it. There's nothing worse than dissonance when you're singing riffs and runs, because the notes go so quickly, there's really no time to tune, and the audience's ear has no time to really sort of give you grace. There's really none of that. It's a very arid climate, so to speak. Think of like a desert, you know, like there's not a lot of mercy in that. So you want to make sure that you know where you're going and that you have a really good deep well of improvisational skill to draw from if you are going to deviate from the original. Just, you know, user warning. Now that was total chest, really nicely placed, super wide. That was fire. That was fire, and those were both chest-to-chest comparisons, and she did like a half step higher. She went to the minor really quick, which is sort of like a blues trick to do. It still was pop, but she went into this half step higher of a note that kind of gave you this sort of like bluesy, like kind of rock, kind of blues feel that had a little more soul to it than the first, which is more straightforward within the actual note of the chord progression. Great placement. Yes, yes, very good. Iconic. G sharp 4, total chest. Okay, so to me, putting that part in this video is cheating because the original key was higher than this key. So even though she went on and on, that the on note really was lower, I think by a whole step, if not definitely a half step, than the original key. So yes, it makes sense to deviate and go a little higher because you have room to play with. Like, you're already starting in a key that the standard is lower than the original that you already set the bar for. So I wouldn't have necessarily put this one in this video because technically it's a cheat to me. Not that Celine needs to cheat. Like, she could have been in the middle of a 2-hour set for all I know within the context of this video, and it would have made perfect sense for her to lower the key. I lower keys of songs. I'm not saying that that's a problem. What I'm saying is she hit a higher note, but it wasn't like part of the melodic line of the song. It was a type of really, really quick little deviation, and the key happened to be lower. So to me, it wasn't as impressive. If she hit a higher note within the context of the original key as part of the melody and held it, I would have been like, okay, yes, dope, you know? But this is one time so far where I was like, I don't know if I would have put that in there. Dang. Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. Now that was cool. That was really cool. So she did, let me try to break that down for you. We're gonna have to listen to both again because that was super impressive. All right, so here's what went down. When we played the first one, it was total chest, beautifully forwardly positioned. And Celine does this thing where she's got real nasal control. And I've never really talked about that, but there is such a thing. And Celine is a master at appropriate nasality, where your frontal placement is such that it takes the weight off of the chest note enough, yet still holds within that registerical range of chest to keep the grit, to keep the excitement, to keep the pounce, so to speak, to keep that belty quality that we all just die to hear on those high notes, right? But she does it in a very masterful way. There's not a whole lot of weight to it. And she does that by keeping those notes perfectly and very precariously placed, actually, in that nasal cavity, in that frontal place, in this mask. And when you say mask, a lot of times the connotation is head voice, but you don't necessarily have to be singing in a head voice to utilize the nasal cavities in your mask. You can actually utilize those in other registers as well, including chest, but not a lot of singers do. She does. And if you can hear that nasality in her voice, some people don't like her because of that, but I think it's actually a really smart way to sing. And she's using it as almost like a hallmark brand of her sound. Like, you know that that's Celine, and it happens to suit her technically and vocal health wise as well. So let's listen to the chest part one more time. So good. Now that is a chest mix. It's pure, but it's lost its bottom, so she's pulling down more head voice. She's kind of crying into it. Do you see her face, though? It's like, ah, that's what you need. Ah, ah. I feel it right up in here. Now, I don't want to blast your ears out, guys. She's on a big stage, but hitting that note with precision means making that face. It means channeling that sound up into the nasal cavities so that the weight is no longer in the chest, meaning it's moved from chest voice into more of a mix to head mix. And she's doing that and then pulling it down, as we're going to listen, into more of a chest mix as she goes lower. And then she flips up into head. So good. E flat 5. Okay. That was chest. That was chest. Really good. That was a good one. Classic Celine Dion. Different key. Gorgeous. Totally would take it. Again, though, the key was changed in this one, so she had a little bit more room to play with her deviation of melody. So it's kind of the same story as the My Heart Will Go On, in my opinion.
No, no. in blue.
That was a fire riff. Like, can we just, I don't even like have anything to say. Okay, yes, it was chest. Perfectly precise, great crispy notes. I loved the blues minor tones that she took and just infused into that. Even though there was some dissonance, it was planned dissonance in that riff. So that's an advanced riff right there. So good. Let's just, one more time for appreciation's sake, shall we? Yeah, real quick. So good. Almost gospel there. Perfectly held chest voice. Okay. That one was really fire. Let me tell you why. It was the same exact key, okay? She held the first note, which was even higher than the original, and then she still, to show her boss babe self, went up even higher to the G5. And in that G5, what happened was she was in full chest in the F, and then she slid up into a beautiful chest mix. But the ratio of the chest mix there was not 50-50. It was more like a 60 chest, 40 head, which made it a more powerful, gritty mix. And you can do that on certain vowels, and ow is one of them. So she totally took advantage of the context of the vowel that she was singing in right there and used it to her advantage by going up even more. And man, that was a good choice. That was really good. Great locked position there, dropped and locked. Different key again though. Love when she sings in French. Took 2 years, don't know anything. That was so good. So good. Was this the same performance? Full chest. Great rundown. Yes. Great flourish there. Man. So good. Sound check. Wow. I'm pretty sure that A was in chest. Love that. Good change. So as you can see, a lot of her deviations to her higher notes, like what makes her sing higher live, are her riffs and runs and flourishes, guys. It's those improvisational, felt in the moments where you feel inspired to change it. It doesn't come from a place of let me sing higher for higher's sake. It comes from a place of I am in this moment, I'm really feeling this, and out of my authentic feelings comes something bigger or something different. It doesn't necessarily always have to be bigger, by the way, or higher, but something different. And I just love that about how well she knows her voice. It's so good. Oh. Baby Celine. Yeah. Woo! Yeah. Da 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 da. Yes.
And now it chills me to the bone. How do I get to love?
Gorgeous, gorgeous total chest. Different key. Lower. So she went up, but that would have been the regular note in the original key. So such a thin, light, bright quality to that chest voice right there. Just so effortless, you know. It's not heavy. It doesn't take a lot to lift that up. And she just bleh, blops it out. So good. Blop. Oh! Love the grit to that F. That was so good. Oh, wow. Okay, so that was another example of flawless change between a really gritty F and then moving up from that G to that B. That she totally used a mix there that was more pure mix by the time she got to the B, but wow, what a flawless transition. And that's why a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, she can belt that high. Well, yeah, there are elements of belt in that, but don't think for a second that that's only belt. It wouldn't even sound good if it were. I mean, it's not, that note isn't really even meant to be fully belted. Like, just because you can, maybe she could eke it out, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean it would be enjoyable to hear. That's why there are different registers in your voice to utilize all of them. And she did, but the difference is she did flawlessly what everybody's trying to do, which is seamlessly and without any breaks move from chest into chest mix, into mix head, into head, right? There's these little ratios, these lines of kind of like an ombre, so to speak. You know, you've got pink and then you've got white and then you've got all the shades that lead into the next in between. That's a smooth registerical change. And that's why people take lessons, frankly, because they don't know how to do that on their own. That's why people like I exist, like me exist. And so also so much to say, it's very intangible. It's difficult to learn. And it's also, since you don't know what you're doing, difficult to know if the person you're trusting knows what they're doing. I'll just say that. So like, chances are if someone that you're taking from can't do what they're trying to get you to do, you may want to think about that. Just saying, throwing it out there. Okay. Oh, such good placement. So good. I love when she goes gospel blues like that. Lower key. Great note though. Great note. That was chest too, by the way. And on an E of all vowels. That's so hard. Smart. I see you, Celine. Okay, so here's what she did there. And this is exactly, I mean, classic what I would do. She lowered the key down, right? But it gave her margin. It gave her vocal margin, okay? And then she changed the E because ain't no singer who knows what they're doing like to sing on an E. I'm sorry. It's the suckiest of all vowels to belt on. Yes, I said sucky. It really sucks. There's no space. Remember the rule, guys. Any extreme note high or low must have, oh, I lost my headphone. Any extreme note high or low must have more, say it, space, and yes, support. If you guys missed that, you've not been watching long enough or paying enough attention, because it is a rule. And on an E, you don't have space. So you're missing one of the two S's, one of the very important pillars in which all good and healthy sound stands upon. So what she did was she took the E and then went, ah, and changed it to a better vowel for herself, a more friendly vowel, so I should say. Yeah, the ah gives us more space. So then she could go up higher without it costing her as many vocal dollars. And if you don't know what vocal dollars is, check out the 8-week course in Smarter Not Harder. Just saying. For all of you guys who have been in it, hey, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Lower key. Yeah. Again, vocal margin. And that was in chest, so that was great. I love that vowel on a D. It's just great. That's cool. Yeah, so good, so good, so good. Okay, So, guys, this should give you just a little bit of a kind of a deep dive vocally of what goes on when you, I think most of the things we went over in this video was when you change lower keys, vocal margin, right? Being clear about your vocal improvisational skills when you do riffs and runs, make sure it's in the context of the key. And if you're going to do like vocal or blues deviations from the major chord underneath, like make sure that you can hear that, make sure that it's crispy. And also the registerical placement, right? From chest to chest mix to mix head to head, and what that all sounds like and means. This is a really great example of a lot of good utilization between chest and chest mix or chest to mix, and even a couple moments where she just totally flipped up into head too. Celine Dion is a vocal icon, okay, guys? It's not like pretty much anybody who's watching this has never heard of her. I'm not thinking that I'm introducing Celine Dion to anybody, because if you don't know who she is, you live under a rock worse than I do. She's an amazing vocalist, and even more amazing person. I just love her story, and if you don't know it, you should check out her story. So thank you guys so much for asking me to react to Celine. I can't believe it's taken me so long, and Celine, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I've sung so many of your songs all my life. I feel like I've reacted to you many times before and realized that it had not happened, and if it has, maybe even once, but I don't think it has. So I'm sorry. But more to come on Celine Dion, because she has withstood the test of time, most importantly in the music industry, and that is not an easy feat. Guys, make sure today that you spread, say it with me, faith not fear, love not germs, be a blessing in a stranger's life, because that is truly how we change the world. And we at Terra Simon Studios and as Terabytes, we are world changers. I love you guys. I am so proud of you. Thanks for being the best part of my channel. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.
And I'm hanging outside.